All right, guys, so I want to take an opportunity here to correct myself on something that I said in a video yesterday. I think it's only fair that I make this correction. So I said yesterday that the Nissan Frontier, the 2022 Nissan Frontier crew cab, has a lot more space in the back row seating than the Ford Ranger does. And today I wanted to go back and kind of check myself on that and make sure that was accurate, because honestly, when you're talking to salesmen and this and that, your mind's all over the place and you don't focus on certain things. So today, since it's Sunday and nobody else is around, I went back up to the dealerships, sat in both of the trucks extensively, took measurements and checked it all out. And here's what I found. I want to correct myself on this. So basically, just to let you know what I did, on the Nissan Frontier, 2022 Frontier and the 2022 Ranger, both crew cabs, what I did was I got in the front passenger side and I adjusted the seat forward, until I had 1 inch of knee room, okay? 1 inch of space between my knee and the dash. And then I got out and I got in the back on the passenger side to see how much knee room would be left. So I was simulating, I'm about 6'3", so I'm a little bit taller than the average guy, but I'm not a huge guy. So basically I was simulating if you had two men sitting front and rear of each other in these trucks. And what I found was the Nissan and the Ford, and we also checked out a Toyota Tacoma just for the heck of it. All of those trucks had the exact same knee room. So in the front seat, when I had 1 inch, and I verified this by taking my fingers and pushing them down between my knee and the dash to make sure I have clearance. All right, so when both are in the same position and you have 1 inch of knee room in the front, I also had 1 inch of knee room in the back. I could take my fingers and slide them down in front of my knee, between the seat and my knee. So 1 inch both front and back. Exactly the same on all of the trucks. The headroom on the Nissan and the Ford, also identical. My head wasn't touching the roof. I had, some space there, maybe a couple inches. So the headroom and the knee room are actually identical on both trucks, and the Ranger is not smaller in the back than the Frontier. That's the correction I want to make. It's only fair to Ford that I make that correction, because I had time to really check it out today, which was awesome. But here's where the difference was. So after I sat in these trucks for a little while, I spent a few minutes sitting back there, kind of getting, settled in and thinking about what it would feel like if I had to ride in the back of one of those trucks for, say, a couple of hours at a time or something. What I discovered was that I actually would rather spend the time in the back of the Ford Ranger. The thing about the Nissan and the Toyota, both of them had this same problem, is that the seat cushion is too low. So if I use my Tundra here just as an example, where the seat cushion is too close to the floor. And so what happens is when you're sitting in the seat, your knee is like way up like this, right? And it's just not a very comfortable position. Plus, the seat back is more vertical. There's a little bit of an angle, but not much. It's kind of vertical. And so it just makes your body kind of feel like you're folded up in a not very comfortable position. When I get in the Ford Ranger, it's very different. The seat cushion is a little taller, it's a little higher up off the floor, and there's some more angle on it. And the angle of the seat back is a little bit greater too. It's a little bit more reclined, right? So it's a more natural seating position, I think. And I found that I was actually more comfortable sitting in the back of the Ranger. So the Ford Ranger, Toyota Tacoma, Nissan Frontier, if I had to pick one of those trucks to ride in the back seat on a longer trip, I would actually pick the Ford Ranger. And big correction from what I said yesterday, which is the reason I'm making this video. I just thought it would be fair to do that. Sometimes you just have to go back and double check yourself and spend more time in the truck and really think about it. And I was able to do that today. So kudos to Ford. It's actually a little bit more comfortable, even though it's not necessarily roomier by measurement. The way that they use the space in the back is just more comfortable. So I think in that regard, the Ford Ranger is the way to go. Now, the other thing that the Ford Ranger has going for it, as I think about it some more, so it's got more torque, which matters to a pickup truck. It's got a 10-speed instead of a 9-speed. For the same price, you get the locking rear diff. Whereas on the Nissan, if you want a locking rear diff, you have to step on up to the top of the line trim, which is the Pro 4X. So the drive line is actually a little nicer in the Ford Ranger. It also has better fuel economy. I was doing some more research, and when I did my little short-term test yesterday, we drove some city, some highway, did a short-term loop. Both trucks were showing 20 and a half roughly when we got back to town to the dealerships. So the display on the dash is identical in terms of fuel economy. But if you look at the EPA rating, the Ranger is 2 miles per gallon better. If you look at fuely.com, where real world owners all over the country log their mileage every time they fill up, they log their mileage on there, and it's real world hand calculations. You'll also see that there's about a 2 mile per gallon disparity between the Nissan and the Ford. So it makes sense. And so a lot of guys on the Nissan forum said that the dash display is actually very optimistic in those trucks. When they get 18 miles per gallon, the dash will show 20. They get 20, the dash will show 22 and a half. It's optimistic what it's showing you on the dash in those Nissan trucks for some reason. So it would stand to reason that when it was showing me 20 and a half miles per gallon yesterday, when we got back to the dealership, or a couple days ago rather, that maybe it was really 18 and a half instead of 20 and a half, which would make better sense, So the Ford Ranger is probably realistically about a 20 mile per gallon truck, and the Nissan realistically is probably not a 20 and a half mile per gallon truck. Apples to apples. So all in all, the fuel economy benefit is going toward the Ranger also. Unfortunately, there's a couple of things I don't like about the Ranger. Like I mentioned, the features are really lacking. You don't have proximity entry or heated seats or heated steering wheel or push button start or outlets in the bed or any of that stuff that the Nissan has for the same money. You don't get that with the Ranger. Also, service intervals are a pain on that Ranger because the 2.3 liter EcoBoost, apparently you've got to take the wheel and tire off of the truck and remove plastic rivets and some of the trim work just to get access to the oil filter. I mean, that sounds like something that Can-Am would design. I have no idea why they engineer things so stupidly, but apparently that's the way it is on those 2.3 EcoBoosts, so that's a bummer. There's some drawbacks to the Ford Ranger, but if we're being realistic, the Nissan Frontier has kind of got all the stuff you want. It's flashy, got all the really cool stuff on it, but the Ford Ranger has all the stuff that you need if you want to have the best fuel efficiency, the most towing, the most payload capacity, just a better drive line and all that. So yeah, what do you do, right? But anyway, I just wanted to make that correction because truth is the Ford Ranger is not smaller than the Nissan Frontier, and in fact it's more comfortable. So all right, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching. Talk. Somebody said your exhaust pipe looks hideous. You, sir, are correct. It does look absolutely hideous. But like I was saying, I'm just doing this all in the name of science, trying to figure out exactly what makes drone and reverberation and resonance inside the cab go away and what makes it worse. So originally, this MBRP exhaust kit came down and it just had straight pipe right here. It was angled just like this. I'm not really sure why they angle it like this, but this is how it was angled right out of the box. And it had some drone in it. So I made a cut right back here and took this section of straight pipe out and put this little muffler in place of the straight pipe that used to be there. Because I thought maybe this little muffler will change the way that the sound waves are, performing basically inside the exhaust system, and it would help some of the drone. Well, it did take a little bit of the drone out, just a little bit, but it didn't make a significant difference. So then I thought to myself, well, just out of curiosity, I'm going to try something here. So this piece of exhaust pipe right here, about 12 inches long, is what I cut out of here. So I added it to the end coming out of the muffler. So now this section is twice as long as it was, right out of the box from MBRP. But because I had this section of tailpipe coming out here, again, all of these changes that you make, you know, it changes the way that the sound waves and the air pulses and everything are moving about inside the exhaust system. So when I put this big long section coming out the end here, all the drone went away. I mean, all of the drone went away. Very, very, very noticeable difference in the interior sound in the truck. So I thought that was really interesting. But it looked terrible being this long and hanging out the truck here. So then what I did was I came in here and I cut off about half of it. So I cut 6 inches of that pipe off. 6 inches. That's all I took off was 6 inches, just to kind of make it, you know, line up and be up under the bumper. So it doesn't look as bad. It still looks cheesy, but it's not as bad. And when I did this, the drone came back twice as bad. I mean, it will drive you crazy inside the truck now. So then I bought a clamp and I put this back on again just to make sure I wasn't going nuts. And sure enough, when I put that 6-inch section back on here, all of the drone went away again. So I'm finding out some really interesting things here. Yes, this looks ridiculous, but I'm learning a lot of really cool stuff. 6 inches of exhaust pipe, all right, made all the difference in the world inside the truck. I wouldn't believe it either if I hadn't been doing this testing, but I'm telling you, 6 inches of pipe makes a lot of difference in this scenario. So that just goes to show you that little bitty changes that you make to your exhaust system can have big changes as far as interior resonance goes. So I've heard some guys say that they actually went up by the spring pack up there, by the leaf springs, and just cut the exhaust off up there, and the drone went away. And I'll believe that now that I'm doing this testing and I'm seeing what small changes will make, you know, will actually do. I can believe that. You know, I'm not necessarily going to cut that off today, but I can believe it. You know, every little bit of length that you add or take away, it just changes the way that the sound travels through the system. So anyway, FYI, that's what's going on here. Yes, it does look ridiculous, but I'm just trying to learn more about this stuff that we call drone, this interior sound that drives us all nuts. And I have found out some pretty cool stuff so far. So I don't know, if the truck sticks around, I'll have something done with this that makes it look a little bit better. Don't know if the truck's going to stick around, so it may not matter. But anyway, I just thought that was cool. Thought I would show you that.